Hi, this is Rhonda, and today we are going to make green chili. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start cutting up the onion. I'm using the meat cutting board, but it's clean, so I'm going to do the onion first, then I'm going to do the meat. You wouldn't want to do the meat first, then the onion. So, okay, this is going to be done with pork tonight. The pork steaks looked really good, so I'm going to use that, or you could use a pork loin, or you can use any type of pork would work fine. That was what they had at the store, so that's what I got. So I'm going to rinse off the onion. I'm going to dice up the onion. I was able to get a big jar of green chilies that are already roasted. Once in a while, we go ahead and we get a burlap bag of green chilies, and we roast them on the barbecue and then let them cool down and take the skin off and then put them in little baggies and freeze them, and that's really good. It's a lot of work, but we have done that before. But lately I've been buying, because that is not available, I've just been buying green chili that's in a container like this. So that's what I'm going to be using tonight. Set the onions aside. And this is a nice strong onion, I can tell, because I'm already crying from it. So, okay. And I'm short on garlic, so I'm just going to go ahead and use minced garlic. I'm saving my other garlic for Italian food, because sometimes it's hard to find really good garlic. So now I'm going to start deboning the meat. And normally, I would have gotten meat that's already deboned, and that would save a lot of time. But all I could find at the store that looked really good was the meat with a bone in it. It doesn't have a huge bone in it, so I think I'm just going to start by, it's like this little tiny bone. Set this aside. I'm going to make sure, okay, here's another bone. And there's just like some fat and stuff. I'm just going to trim this up. And I'm going to put it in a bowl. I'm going to make small pieces, so it'll cook way faster if you do small pieces. I'll leave just a little tiny bit of the fat on, because it'll actually, see, this is very tender pork. This is actually pork steaks. So the more tender, and you have a sharp knife, it's going to go pretty quick. And I typically use the red cutting board for the meat, the green for the veggies, the wooden one for the pastry making. And I'm going to go wash my hands for a sec, because I was going to put on gloves and I didn't put on the gloves right away, and I'm just not enjoying the feel of this. I am going to put on some food prep. Okay, I'm back. So I accidentally started cutting up the meat without my gloves on, and then I was like, this is really, I don't really like the feel of raw meat on my hands. Sometimes it doesn't bother me, but I just didn't really want to do that today. And then I had to wash my hands, and then I had to dry my hands, because I attempted to put on the gloves with moist hands, and that does not work at all. So then I broke a glove. So here I am back now. So this meat is super tender, so it's going to probably cook up pretty fast, but like I said, that's all I could find, and I wanted to make green chili, so I just got what I could find, and it was a really good price, so I don't feel bad about that. But you could definitely use any type of pork roast that's not tender, because the idea is that you're going to cook it a while anyway. So, but even though I have gloves on, I can still feel the bones pretty well. Luckily, there's not a lot of bones, but still, you don't want to accidentally leave any bone in there. And because the meat is so tender, it is coming off the bone pretty well with making sure. Oh, see, there's a tiny, tiny little bone in there. That's why I'm not a big fan of getting, for this sort of meal, this is probably better to throw on the barbecue or make on in the cast iron skillet. But like I said, this is all I could find. I felt like green chili, so I just have to be very careful and get the bones out. Hope everybody's having a good day today. Sometimes it's hard to figure out what am I going to make for dinner. And I've just been having issues lately finding the ingredients at the store. So that's my big thing. So sometimes I'll get stuck on a particular type of food because that's all I can find the ingredients for. Okay, still feeling for the bones as I'm cutting this up. This is actually a pretty simple recipe. So green chili, you can do green chili burritos. So you would need tortillas. You could serve just the green chili with chips. Some people like to do the green chili and they do like a sunny side up egg on top. Sometimes you can make yourself an omelet and then drizzle the green chili on top. That tastes really good. So there's a lot of different options with the green chili once you have it made, of different ways to serve it. You could even, if you wanted to, I think we did this one time where I had some potatoes, and then you could just take the green chili on some baked potatoes, or even like a home fry, and put the green chili on that. So if you didn't have tortillas but you had all the ingredients to do the green chili, you definitely could do different options. It doesn't have to just be green chili burritos. So that's some ideas. Well, this onion is strong. I'm still feeling the side effects of the onion. I'm trying to make sure I'm minimizing the fat. I really don't like fatty meat. So typically, green chili you make with pork, and red chili you typically make with beef or game meat, any type of red meat. Now you could, oh, here's another idea. You could take the same green chili and you can make the fillings for the enchilada. So you could do that. And then you could put red enchilada sauce on it, or you could put green enchilada sauce on it. It doesn't matter. Now when I do red and green enchiladas, I call them Christmas enchiladas because it's red and green. But so that's another option. So many different options with this. Now you can take half of it and do one thing with it, and half of it and do something else with it, and make two different meals out of it, which I've done before when I have an abundance. All depends how much you make. So this amount here, just for reference, it says it's 4.35 pounds. So that's how much meat I'm doing tonight. Of course, I'm trimming fat off and I'm taking the bone out. So maybe, I don't know, maybe 4 pounds of meat when everything's done, I would think. As I'm doing it, I'm feeling, making sure, uh-oh. Nope. Nope. Sorry, I didn't want my dog to get raw pork. If it's raw beef and they get some, I don't mind, but the pork, you know, you need to cook pork all the way through. I don't think it's even good for the pets to have raw pork. So pork is actually considered white meat. I don't know if everybody knows that. I didn't know it for years. I mean, it makes sense. It's white. It kind of almost looks like chicken. So more of getting the bone out. We're getting really close to being done with this. Which is nice. Doesn't really take that long. So tender. So if you're dealing with non-tender meat, you'll be having to cook it long, because the first thing I'm going to do after I'm done cutting this up is I'll show you, but I'm going to take it over to the cast iron skillet and put a nice brown on it and cook it all the way through. And then after that, I will cook it longer with the green chili so that it's to the point where it's just falling apart. So if you had tough, this is already tender meat to start out with, and I'm able to cut it up really small. So I have a nice sharp knife. It's very tender. But if you had tough pork meat, it will take you longer. So you just have to judge on how it looks when it's done. It needs to be falling apart when it's all finished. But I will take you step by step. And we're almost done. This is just a weird looking piece here. It's the end of the, there's more bone. Now, some people do this in the crock pot. I haven't decided if I'm going to do it in the crock pot or not. I'm going to see how things go. I might start it off and then put it in the crock pot, or I might just cook it all the way tonight. We'll see how it's going. I haven't decided yet. But I'll tell you at which point you would put it in the crock pot. You wouldn't want to put it in the crock pot like this. It will never get done properly. And also you want to put a nice brown on it. Sometimes I really plan the meals out ahead of time, and sometimes I don't, and I just kind of figure it out the day of. I try to keep certain things always in the house, for different meal options, like the green chilies that I have. I've been lately keeping that a mainstay where I always have them in the house. I always keep garlic in the house. I always keep onions in the house. And baking supplies, flour, and that sort of thing. I call them the staples. I always keep my staples in the house. It's like milk and eggs, that sort of thing. And I personally like meals that don't require a whole bunch of ingredients. Although sometimes I do that and then I have to go to the store and really make sure I don't forget. Some of this is kind of hard to get off the bone. Just because of the weird cut of the steak. I'll just do my best to get it off there. Try to take most of the fat off. Okay, so for me, the hardest part of the dinner is done already. So I will be back shortly and we'll go to the stove and start cooking. So I got a few things cleaned up because if you clean up while you go along while you're cooking, it is not as bad at the end. You don't have as much to clean up. So I did a little bit of cleanup off camera. And now I'm going to go ahead and heat up my pan. I'm going to put it on high. That might take a few seconds. So I have my, what I got is I got my cut up pork, I got my onion, I have my minced garlic, and I got some, a little bit of black pepper, and I have some, like a big bottle of green chili, which I'll do later, and eventually I'm going to need a little bit of flour. So I'm going to get this going. I'm going to put some oil. Today I'm going to use sunflower oil. Sometimes I use olive oil. Sometimes I use butter, but I'm just going to, on this, there's also I left behind a little bit of the fat, so there'll be some pork fat. So I think I'm just going to use the sunflower oil. We'll see if I need to add more oil. I'll see what happens. I'm going to just get this all the way around here, and I'm going to wait till this starts to sizzle. Okay, so now it's oil's starting to make noise. So I am going to throw in my pork. Black as much as I can. So this is a very large frying pan that I got. Cast iron skillet. And I like to use, especially when I'm making pork, I like to use cast iron because it's a lot easier to brown with a cast iron skillet. So I'm going to cook this a little bit, then I will add the onions. Add some pepper, just a little, that's crazy amount. Add a little bit of pepper, onion powder, garlic. Even though I'm going to have onions and garlic, I still sometimes like to add the powder too, so that each piece has a amount of flavor. I'm going to add my fresh onions. I should cut some of this too much line. Okay. There's a lot of water in pork, so it's going to take a little bit for some of this to just cook off. So now I'm going to do a generous amount of garlic. Now that's probably enough for most people, but my family really loves garlic, so I'm just going to do 2 very big heaping tablespoons of garlic. The green chilies that I'm going to put in today are mild, but you could, depending on your taste buds, you can do medium and hot, medium or hot, or you could do mild and hot to make medium, or do a combination, whatever you like. I mean, you certainly don't want to, if you're not used to hot stuff, you certainly don't want to do hot and then not be able to eat it, because that wouldn't be a good idea. Because the way I kind of look at this is, I like the spicy food, but you could always add hotness to your individual portion. If you have a member of the family that can't eat hot stuff, then it's best to do mild and then add some hot sauce to it. Because once it's hot, it's hard to go backwards. So, lately I've just been doing the mild, and then if somebody wants to make it hotter, they can. So sometimes when you get a little bit older, you can't handle, you like the way it tastes, but maybe your body doesn't like it. So, whatever works for you. And this green chili that's in the jar, or container, whatever you want to call bottle, it's just green chili, and it is, let me see, does it say Hatch green chilies? So this one's just, it is Hatch. It is Hatch green chilies. So that's, no matter what brand you get, if it's Hatch green chilies, whether you get them in the big burlap bag and barbecue them, or you get them in a jar or a bottle or whatever, the Hatch typically are the best, in my opinion. So that's what, in my opinion, that's the way it is. So now I'm just going to let this cook a little bit longer till I can start really putting a brown on it. I need to get some of this liquid to just kind of boil off. I might even move some of it to the side here so I can just get some of it to just evaporate so that I can actually brown the pork. So I'm going to do that for a few minutes, and then I'm going to start stirring it around again. Okay, so that worked. I had moved the meat like this, and I kind of boiled off some of the fluid, and now I put it back here, and now I'm going to be able to put a brown on this. The meat evaporated off, and I'm going to be able to put a brown on this pork. And that was my reasoning to, because you don't want it to taste like boiled meat. So you really want it to have that. It's got brown first, and then you cooked it long, and it fell apart. So now we're going to brown it. And I still have it on high, by the way. Everybody's stove's different. This is an electric range flat top, fairly new, so it's pretty reliable. I used to have one that I had to keep on moving the dial back and forth and back and forth. So most people know their own stove. So depending what type of stove range top you have to make that adjustment. So now we're starting to see it brown. And the onions are starting to brown. And the garlic is starting to brown. And I'm just going to keep on doing this for a while. And I would recommend running your exhaust fan. If you're new to cooking, I would definitely be running the exhaust fan. I'm not doing it because it would be way too loud and you wouldn't be able to hear me, or really it would be an annoying sound in the background. So I'm just going to keep on going with this, keep on browning it. And I keep on stirring because I don't want it to burn. Going with this. Okay, so we're getting really close here. I turned down the heat a little. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to turn it off completely. It's just going to stay hot for a while. I'm going to keep on mixing. It's not burnt, so I can kind of scrape the pan, get all the flavors. There's some onions and stuff a little bit stuck. And we are almost ready to transfer this into another pot. Okay, so now I'm going to have to pull this off the heat. It's going to be very hot. I'm going to pull this off the heat. Okay, so now I have a large saucepan, and I'm going to start just taking the meat from my cast iron skillet and putting it into my saucepan. The saucepan's kind of oversized. I have a bad habit of always grabbing too small of a pan or a pot, and so I decided I'm going to grab one that I know there's not going to be an issue with it overflowing or anything. Okay, so now it's time to add the green chili, and I got to make sure that I have enough green chili for this to actually come out right. So I have to look and see what I got and stir it in and see. I have more green chili in case this is not enough. Okay, so I'm going to stir this in and see. And that's a lot of green chili, but I feel like I need more because I am, after all, making green chili. It's not just part of a burrito. I need to really make sure I have a lot of green chili in here. So I'm going to go and add some more green chili to add. Okay, luckily I always keep extra on hand. So I'm going again, let's see. So I already put in 1.5 pounds of green chili. So let's see how much I need. I don't know if I'm going to need all this. Let's see. Stir it up. Okay. Now I think I got the right amount. Let's see, how much do I have left of this one? That's probably enough. Don't want to go crazy. So what I do now is this needs to be completely covered. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bottle that I had and I'm going to fill it with water. That way I'll get the residue off and I'll shake it and then I will be able to pour it on. So I'm going to pour this on here. I need a tad more water. I'm going to turn up the heat, by the way, to high, but I'm going to check it because I don't want it to all of a sudden run out of water and burn either. So I'm going to put a little bit more water. So now I'm going to mix this up. And I'm going to bring it to a boil, then I'm going to reduce it to simmer, and then I will check back. I have this covered, but it's boiling now, so I'm going to reduce the heat to just simmer. I'm going to cover it again, but I reduce the heat to simmer. And occasionally I need to make sure that I stir it and it has enough moisture where it's not going to burn. So I'm just going to put this down. The meat is under the liquid. And right now I can really start to smell the green chili in the air, and it smells quite good. Okay, time to check the green chili. Let's see how we're coming along here. Smells really good. Let's see. The pork is falling apart. It's starting to get very soft. And if you notice, I'm breaking it with the spoon on the side. It's close, but I'm going to keep on cooking it for a little bit, and we'll check back in a little bit. So let's take a look at what's going on here. I believe it is ready, and I'm going to show you with a couple of spoons what I'm looking at as far as the pork goes. Okay, see how it's just flaking apart like this? Yeah, so it's just flaking apart like this, and then like if I move it to the side, just shredding. Okay, so the last step is flour. So this is cooking along, and I put it on low heat, and I'm going to take some flour and I'm going to sprinkle the flour in here. That's like a heaping tablespoon. It'd be a little bit more, and then I'm going to mix it up, and this is going to thicken it. I'm going to mix this all up like this. And as you can see, the green chili is getting thicker. So like that. Okay, so it is getting thicker, and as I'm mixing it up, the pork is falling apart some more, which is great. Mix it thoroughly. It's nice and thick, and made a nice thick green sauce on there. And I'm going to put this in a bowl and test it. Okay, so now it's time for me to taste test the chili. First, I'm going to go ahead and show you without all the glare of the stove. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Okay, so I'm going to try some of this. Okay. So I'm just going to use some corn chips today. Maybe if I need 2 corn chips to get it on a corn chip. Okay. Here we go. Time for a taste test. Very good. I cooked this a few hours, so all the green chili flavor got into the pork. The pork's falling apart, very moist, very delicious. Come out very good. Not too spicy. And like I said, you could always add a little hot sauce or something to it. But if you made it too hot, you couldn't take the heat away. So I am going to try another little piece. Came out just the way I like it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you decide to maybe try to make some green chili. It's really great on a cold day, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and have a great day. Thank you.